Most people think obsession is created by doing more texting, more attention, more reassurance. Psychology says the opposite. Attraction grows when the mind has space to fill, when someone can't fully predict you, can't fully access you, and can't fully replace the way you make them feel. Their brain starts looping on you, not because you forced it, because uncertainty activates emotional focus. Here's the first principle: emotional contrast. If you are always available, always consistent, always reacting the same way, her nervous system stays calm, and calm doesn't create obsession. What does? Contrast. You're warm, then neutral, present, then busy, engaged, then focused elsewhere. Not disappearing, not ignoring, just not over-investing. The human brain bonds strongest to what it can't fully secure. That's why people miss someone more after distance than during closeness. So instead of increasing effort when you feel her pulling away, you stabilize yourself, you stay grounded, and that alone creates a shift, because emotionally strong people are rare. Here's where most men ruin it. They explain themselves. They say, "I was busy. I didn't mean to sound distant. I hope you're not upset." Psychologically, this tells her you're monitoring her emotions for validation. Attraction drops. Instead, you let your behavior speak, not your words. If you're quiet, you're quiet. If you're present, you're present. No justification. That unpredictability creates mental replay. Why didn't he chase? Why doesn't he seem affected? That's not manipulation, that's self-respect. Next principle: selective emotional access. You don't share everything. You don't vent constantly. You don't narrate your inner world. You let her earn emotional depth. Why this works psychologically? The brain values what requires effort. Effort creates attachment. Attachment creates focus. When someone invests emotionally, asking questions, opening up, leaning in, they start bonding to their own effort, not just your presence. That's when obsession begins forming internally. You didn't do anything dramatic. You simply didn't give everything away for free. Good. Stay focused. This part matters. Emotional investment creates attachment, not attention. Attention feels good in the moment. Investment rewires memory. Here's the mistake most people make. They try to impress instead of engage. Impressing is performance. Engagement is participation. Psychologically, the brain bonds to what it helps create. So instead of telling stories to entertain her, you ask questions that make her reflect. Not surface-level questions, questions that pull her inward. For example, what's something you enjoy but don't talk about much? What kind of energy do you feel safest around? What changed the way you see relationships? When she answers, you don't jump in with your own story. You pause, you listen, you respond slowly. That pause is powerful because silence after vulnerability tells her this moment matters. Her nervous system associates emotional safety and presence with you. That's not dark psychology, that's human bonding. Now, here's where obsession subtly forms: intermittent reinforcement. This is one of the strongest psychological drivers of attachment, and it's everywhere. Why people get addicted to social media, why gambling works, why some connections feel impossible to let go of. The brain bonds strongest to unpredictable rewards. So if you're affectionate all the time, it becomes expected. But if warmth comes after emotional connection, not constantly, it becomes meaningful. You don't pull affection away, you time it. Warm when she opens up, calm when she's neutral, centered when she tests. This trains her nervous system to associate closeness with depth, not availability. And here's the key difference between confidence and manipulation. You are not trying to control her reaction. You are controlling your consistency. That's power. Next principle: you don't chase emotional highs, you create emotional safety. Obsession isn't excitement alone, it's comfort mixed with mystery. If she feels calm around you, seen by you, unpressured by you, her mind starts comparing others to you, and comparison is where obsession grows. She won't say it out loud, but internally she starts thinking, why doesn't this feel the same with anyone else? That's the moment the bond deepens. Good, let's go deeper. This is where the psychology actually locks in. The next layer is emotional contrast. Attraction doesn't grow in constant intensity, it grows in contrast. If everything feels good all the time, the brain stops recording it as special. So instead of being emotionally flat or overly expressive, you create variation, naturally. Not hot and cold games, not manipulation, just emotional range with self-control. Here's how it works psychologically. When she feels understood, relief. When she feels slightly unsure, curiosity. When both happen around the same person, attachment. So what do? You don't overreact to her moods. If she's excited, you're grounded. If she's distant, you're calm, not anxious. If she's testing, you stay playful, not defensive. That emotional steadiness creates contrast. Her emotions move, yours don't. And the human brain subconsciously attaches to what feels stable during emotional movement. That's why she keeps thinking about you later, not because of what you said, but because of how she felt regulated around you. Now, listen carefully. The most powerful psychological trigger is not desire, it's self-reflection. When she starts asking herself questions because of you, the bond deepens. Questions like, why do I feel comfortable opening up to him? Why do I think about what he'd say? Why does his silence feel louder than others' attention? Those questions are attachment forming. So instead of trying to be unforgettable, you make her thoughts about herself unforgettable, with you attached to them. That's why you avoid oversharing early. You don't dump your emotions, you let her discover you. Discovery activates dopamine. Explanation kills it. Here's a subtle move most people miss. When she compliments you, don't fully absorb it, not rejecting it, not chasing it, just acknowledge lightly and redirect. Example, she says, you're different. You say, maybe, what makes you feel that? Now she's explaining her perception and reinforcing it internally. Psychologically, the brain believes what it explains. That's how identity-based attraction forms. She's not just attracted to you, she's attracted to the version of herself that shows up around you. That's powerful. Quick pause here. If this is hitting different, this is the kind of psychology most people never hear. And if you want more breakdowns like this, you already know what to do. Stay connected to the channel without me having to push it. All right, final layer. This is where everything locks in psychologically. What creates obsession is emotional safety mixed with uncertainty, in the right order. Most people get this wrong. They try to create desire first, safety later. That creates excitement, then burnout. But the brain bonds deeper when safety comes first and uncertainty follows. Here's what that means in real behavior. You become the person she feels calm around. Not entertained, not impressed, calm. Calm lowers defenses. Lower defenses increase emotional access. Once she feels safe being herself around you, that's when uncertainty becomes powerful. And uncertainty does not mean disappearing or acting cold. It means this: she knows how you treat her. She doesn't fully know how you feel. You're consistent in respect, unpredictable in emotional exposure. That creates psychological tension without anxiety. Now, pay attention to this part. It's critical. The brain obsesses over what it can't fully predict, but feels secure exploring. That's why she replays moments. That's why she rereads messages. That's why silence from you feels different. Not because you're manipulative, but because you don't leak emotional need. Here's the biggest mistake that kills everything: explaining your intentions too early. When you say things like, I really like you, I'm not talking to anyone else, I've never felt this way before. You remove uncertainty before attachment finishes forming. The brain relaxes, the tension dissolves, the obsession fades. Instead, you let actions speak slightly ahead of words. You show care without labeling it. You show presence without claiming it. You show interest without chasing it. That's emotional maturity, and maturity is rare. Now, the final psychological trigger, reciprocal investment. Once she starts initiating conversations, sharing personal thoughts, asking about your day, worrying about how she comes across to you, you do not suddenly give more. You stay steady. Why? Because the brain values what it works for. If she invests and you remain grounded, her investment deepens to justify itself. That's cognitive consistency. Her mind says, I'm putting energy here, so this must matter. That's how attachment solidifies. Not through pressure, not through tricks, not through control. Through presence, restraint, and emotional leadership. And here's the truth most people never hear. Obsession doesn't come from being unforgettable. It comes from being the standard her nervous system compares others to. Once that happens, you don't need to chase, you don't need to prove, you don't need to manipulate. Your absence already speaks. If this perspective shifted how you see attraction, remember this: the strongest influence is never loud. It's calm, consistent, and controlled. And if you want more psychology like this, the kind that actually works in real life, stay close to the channel. Not because I asked, but because your curiosity already did.